From the many pictures, Anastasia looked out at me with her kindly eyes. And the scenes! I couldn't get over it. Some of the pictures showed scenes from this second book, which hadn't been published yet. And there was this glowing sphere, sometimes appearing right next to Anastasia. Later I learned that the artist painted not with a brush, but with her fingertips. Most of the pictures had already been sold, but left hanging for the duration of the exhibit, since more and more people were coming to see them. The artist presented one of them to me as a gift, depicting Anastasia's mother and father. I couldn't take my eyes off her mother's face. Offers started coming in from various film studios about making an Anastasia movie, and this was now something I was already accepting as a matter of course. As I touched the paintings and sheets of poetry with my hands, as I listened to the songs and looked at stills from a film which had already been made, I tried to make some sense of what was going on. And now there is a Moscow research centre devoted to investigating Anastasia phenomenon, which has concluded, the greatest spiritual teachers known to mankind for their religious teachings and philosophical and scientific investigations cannot match the fantastic pace of Anastasia's influence on the human potential. Their teachings have had a noticeable manifestation in real life only centuries and millennia after their first appearance. In some inexplicable way, over a matter of days and months, Anastasia has managed, without the aid of written doctrines and religious teachings, to directly influence people's feelings, provoking emotional outbursts and causing a surge of creativity manifest in artistic creations on the part of a whole lot of people who have been mentally touched by her. We are able to perceive them in the form of works of art and inspired impulses toward goodness and light. How is it possible that this lonely recluse, all alone in this remote Siberian taiga, has at the same time managed to soar over all our lives in real time and space? How does she bring artistic creations into being through other people's hands? They are all about light, about goodness, about Russia, about nature, about love. She will cover the world with her great poetry of love. Poems and songs will shower the whole planet like a spring rain and wash away its accumulated filth, Anastasia's grandfather told me. But how does she do it, I asked. And the answer, she gives off inspiration and illumination by the energy of the impulse of her own aspirations, by the strength of her dreams. What kind of power is hidden in her dreams? The power of man as a creator. But man should receive some sort of compensation for his creations, honors, money, titles. And here she is giving them away and asking nothing in return. Why? I asked. She is self-sufficient. Her highest rewards are her own satisfaction and the sincere love of at least one person, replied Anastasia's grandfather. But so far these answers are not something I've been able to make complete sense of. In attempting to grasp who Anastasia really is, and my own relationship to her in particular, I have continued to seek out various opinions about her and read as much as I can in the way of religious literature. In fact, I've read more over the past year and a half than in all the previous years of my life taken together. But what has come of it? I've managed to come to only one indisputable conclusion. A number of learned books claiming to be historically accurate, religious and sincere, are nothing but a pack of lies. This conclusion arose out of a situation connected with the historical figure of Gregory Rasputin. In Book 1, I cited a passage from Valentin Pikul's epic novel, U Poslednye Cherny, At the Last Frontier. Pikul's narrative tells about a semi-literate peasant named Gregory Rasputin from the remote wilds of Siberia, where the Siberian cedar grows. In 1907, he came to St. Petersburg, then the capital of the Russian Empire. He not only endeared himself to the imperial family, impressing them with his predictions of the future, but ended up sleeping with a good many of the most prominent women in the capital. When a group of officers tried to kill him, they were amazed to find that even after swallowing the cyanide poison slipped into his drink, he was still able to get up from the table and make his way outdoors, where Prince Yusupov fired shots at him point blank from his pistol. Even after being riddled with bullets, Rasputin would not die. His wounded body was thrown off a bridge into the river, then fished out and burnt. The mysterious and enigmatic Gregory Rasputin, who impressed everyone with his stamina, grew up amidst the cedars of the Siberian taiga. This is how a contemporary journalist described his staying power. At age 50, he could begin an orgy at noon and go on carousing until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. From his fornication and drunkenness, he would go directly to the church for morning prayers and stand praying until 8 before heading home for a cup of tea. Then, as if nothing had happened, he would carry on receiving visitors until 2 in the afternoon. Next, he would collect a group of ladies and accompany them to the baths. From the baths, he would be off to a restaurant in the country where he would begin repeating the previous night's activities. No normal person could ever keep up a regime like that. As with many other people, such descriptions also shaped my impression of Rasputin as a hopeless debaucher. But fate threw my way a different concept, as though trying to induce me to reconsider. This is what the Pope of Rome, John Paul II, had to say about Rasputin. Today from the river comes unscathed the body, never found, of a holy monk, and his secret offspring will enter into the ark with prayer. What's going on here? On the one hand, he's referred to as a debaucher, on the other, a holy monk. Where is the truth? Where is the lie? There's more. The text of some of Rasputin's notes, written during a trip to the Holy Land, happened to fall into my hands. They were brought to Paris by a refugee from the USSR named Lobachevsky. This is what Rasputin himself wrote. The sea effortlessly comforts. When you awake in the morning and the waves speak, they dance and make glad, and the sunlight glistens on the sea. It seems to rise ever so quietly, and at that moment man's soul forgets all about mankind and fixes its gaze on the glow of the sun, and a happiness kindles in man, and he feels in his heart the book of life and the higher wisdom of life, indescribable beauty. The sea awakens him from the dream of earthly vanities, and many thoughts arise all by themselves, quite effortlessly. The sea is a vast space, but the mind is even more spacious. There is no end to man's higher wisdom. No philosophy can possibly contain it. Another moment of stupendous beauty comes when the sun sets over the sea and its rays fill the western sky. Who can estimate the beauty of the sun's twilight rays? They warm and caress the soul and offer healing comfort. The sun disappears behind the mountains minute by minute, and man's heart grieves a little at its amazing twilight rays, and then it grows dark. And oh, what silence falls. Not even the sound of a bird is heard. Lost in thought, man begins to pace the deck of the ship, involuntarily recalls his childhood and all of life's kerfuffle, and begins to compare the silence around him with the bustle of the world, and quietly talks with himself, desiring company to stave off the tedium inflicted upon him by his enemies. So who were you, you Siberiak? A Russian named Gregory Rasputin? Where is the truth written about you, and where the lie? How to make sense of it all? What can one rely upon in trying to fathom the essence of one's being, one's destiny? What great works can help one discern between truth and falsehood? Where is the spiritual and sincere, as opposed to a mere pretense of omniscience? Perhaps one should try probing one's own heart. I have never written poetry before, but I want to dedicate my very first poem to you, Gregory Rasputin. People read Anastasia and come up with sincere, original poetry. I have tried too, and this is the result, for you. My apologies if the rhyme doesn't always work out. Dedicated to Gregory Rasputin. So you're semi-literate. Why yes, semi-literate. From the cedar forest, well, those are my roots. And barefoot, walking all the way from Siberia, you're bound to wear out more than one pair of boots. I'm going to the Tsar to help our dear Batyushka. Hold on just a little bit longer out there. I'm going to our dear Russia Matushka, to give her a taste of our pine forest air. What about it, hussars, you dashing rogues freely, debauching the ladies, making bold in a brawl? Just look at me, look, and see how one really debauches, you scum, thinking you know it all. Peter's city in fine Paris garb is assembling, but watch lest your corsets too tight squeeze your hearts. The Siberiak enters, and ladies are trembling at the sight of this peasant from far eastern parts. But as he went off to the morning prayer service for others' redemption from error to pray, he heard his land calling. She spoke in a whisper, the only one telling him this, go away. The flesh-eating age of the beast is upon us, all drunken and growling, it leads men astray. While your fiery soul has been keeping it from us, it can no longer do so, you must go away. You can't hold the savagery back for much longer. Just a moment, that's all it will last. It's too strong. I am Russia. You cannot imagine my sorrow. I know you. You never will finish your song. Go back to your cedars. My rebounding is certain, and then you will ask whoever you will. Oh, how I'd love us to go to the Banya. I'd beat you with bosoms of birch, even pine. My profligate Russia, for you I am longing. I shall stay with you, Russia, forever, you're mine. The age of dark madness with fury came howling. Grishka stumbled, his breast full of bullets that day, while the blackness stood mocking, its dark visage scowling, saying, crawl, you Siberiak, go on, crawl away. You can hold me back only a half-second longer, and then from the depths of my pit you'll be shown a punishment frightful, more painful and stronger than ever the world in its history has known. A hero you are, but you'll be called a blasphemer. From bottles of poison your image will peak, and the scions you save will curse you as a schemer, and spit on your soul, you Siberian Muzik. Crawl away, it is I who now have all the power. Fly away if you like to your heaven on high. But a moment is left, see, not a day, not an hour. So give me my moment, you're still going to die. Bring on the Madeira, let's head for the Banya, and there I shall show you what's real and what's crass. A Siberiak, you say, I'm down-to-earth peasant, so what's all the babble and gab all about, ass? His body was shot through and drowned in the river, then burnt in a courtyard midst rubble and sand. Today as spring winds blow their way over Russia, they carry his ashes across the whole land. Well, music, said the blackness, still standing there mocking, where on earth is your tombstone and where are your eyes? You can never bring back now the days of your living, and your scions will see but an image despised. Show them the debt they owe, I give you power. Show them the bills for your service unpaid, or is it your wish just to weep and to cower? Grishka, spit a lead bullet, you Satan are foolish, as if I could care about either weeping or loans. Come now, my musics, how's the Banya, dear fellows? Time for more boiling water to be poured on the stones. Gregory Rasputin from the cedar forests of Siberia stepped into the life of pre-revolutionary Russia in an attempt to head off the storm of revolution and perished. Anastasia also lives amongst the cedars and is also trying to do good for people, also trying to head off something before it happens. But what fate has our society prepared her for?